How's it going, everybody? So, let's see. Had a great weekend. I finally beat Sagat in Street Fighter 1, and I did it in the way I didn't think I would do it. I beat him 2 in a row. Because I don't know if you guys got it with my other videos, but Scott is really fucking hard in Street Fighter 1. I mean, the guy hits you with one special move, Tiger Uppercut, and Tiger Uppercut takes off about 3/4 of your life. So all it takes is one more flying knee or another Tiger Uppercut, and you're done. Like that. And like there were rounds where it was 2 hits, and you're done. And the extra difficulty with Sagat is his block is ridiculous. You have to time it perfectly if you're going to use Hadouken, and like the spinning kick that Ryu does is ridiculous, the same way the Shoryuken is, but Shoryuken is actually performable. I want to say, just to prove that I think I know what it sounds like, I want to say Tepsin Yukin. Anyway, that I've pulled off and I've actually won fights with in that game, but it's just hard. And Street Fighter 1 is such an arcade game that it's built to take your money. And you only get one character, but you also get a mode in which you can play like as a second player. You get to be Ken. So Ryu is sort of the one character from Street Fighter that was playable for the main game. But if you want to fight someone else, you fought as Ken. But like even back then, it was just a palette swap clone. So the next episode I do, Matt plays Street Fighter. I'm going to do the original Street Fighter 2, which is, I forget the subtitle on that one, but it only had 4 characters, and I'm going to do a couple character run-throughs in the hopes that I get through it quickly and easily. Like, I'm going to play for an hour. If I luck out, I'm going to beat the game with Ken and Ryu, and then maybe I'll do Blanca or Kayal in the same hour. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to get it done. Now, the other thing I want to talk about this week is Darling in the Franxx. Darling in the Franxx this past couple weeks has been simulcasting, and with Darling in the Franxx, it feels like a tale of 2 TV shows, because I want to say the first 12 episodes were really, really good. Then it gets iffy in the second half, because it is a 24 episode show, and we're up to episode 20 right now. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. A lot of people are saying like how bad the last 2 episodes have been, for various reasons. The first episode that really, like, this show has dedicated fans, and when you have dedicated fans, like, the dip in quality is almost like a betrayal. So the show starts out as a metaphor for teen romance. Like, you have like a guy and a girl that are partnered up, and there's no chemistry whatsoever. It's not working. There's a girl that wants to be with said guy, but she's already partnered up with somebody else, and she wants to make it work because they just have past history. They all have past history. So the guy meets a new girl, and she is wild. She is the bad girl that they tell you to be careful of, literally, because when the show starts off, they kind of have it set up so that whenever they pilot the mechs that they have, they become it's definitely like a metaphor for sex, I should say. So when they talk about compatibility and all that stuff, apparently the guy and the bad girl work really well. In fact, better than anything they'd hoped for, because the girl kills everyone else that she's ever been with. And like the drama of like partners as boyfriend girlfriend without saying boyfriend girlfriend is interesting. It's a little cringy because I don't want to say anything about the series as a whole yet, because it's not over with. I can say that it's been out of character of the show for the last 2 episodes, because the previous like 17 or 18 episodes have been very vague about the whatever, and I think when like things are vague, they just assume that people know what they're doing, and because they know what they're doing, they just assume that everything is going to plan. Like they're going to reveal things like at a drip speed. They're going to like let you in on the world by showing you and not telling you what it is. Then episode 19 happens, and a lot of the backstory was just exposition dumped, and a lot of people are pissed about that, because the show that was about teenage kids being raised in test tubes, or I shouldn't say raised in test tubes, but they kind of reveal that that everyone's raised in a test tube, but in this episode that I'm talking about, they reveal it. But like there was like a sort of mystery about like how kids are born, because everything is so impersonal, and like you don't realize it, because like the thing that pissed a lot of people off is like it answered all the questions, or as many questions as possible at once, and it did it in the most boring, flat way. So when I say like it was a dip in quality, it could have been pretty consistent. It was just like now we know for real that this is not as intelligent as we wanted it to be. So this show has been compared to Neon Genesis Evangelion, and that show, I don't know how planned out that show was, because Neon Genesis Evangelion had a really good dynamic going for it. It had a really good like it broke ground on things, and the discourse that you could have about Ava could go on for a really long time. I think with Darling in the Franxx, the discourse like it got cut short because it got boxed in. The mythos of it, like, there has to be a little bit of mystery, there has to be a little bit of unstated things, there has to be breathing room for things to really happen. Like one of the great Ava debates that I remember, I don't know if like people solved it or it got commented on, but there's a character that dies in Ava, and it's pretty obvious that someone killed the character, and there was a debate on whether or not it was a certain person who did it that everyone knew. And I kind of agree with a friend of mine that it was the person that like there was like evidence towards like this person who did it, even though it would seem out of character for this person. But I'm also of the belief if the creators don't show you and they're not giving you enough information to conclude that it was that something is, then it's up in the air. But what Darling and the Franxx did, it took all the things that were up in the air, that they were vague about in the beginning, that they didn't mention, and they just collapsed it. They collapsed it down to a certainty of what things were. And when you do that, if there's problems with the certainty, then it takes away the mythos. And I think that's what pissed everyone off about Darling and the Franxx episode 19. Now, get to episode 20. Episode 20 did something that was also against the way they do things. Episode 20 was an explosion of plot developments, and nothing was building up to certain things that get revealed in episode 20. So many things happened in episode 20, new developments, that the people that we knew were assholes, like, really are assholes, but it's just a lot of things going on in half an hour, and I think a lot of people were pissed just because, like I don't know if this is, like when you're at a jazz concert and they start playing heavy metal, like that's what I would compare it to. And the other problem the show's been having recently, the reason why I mentioned the whole 12 episode part, like the first 12 episodes I want to say were great, like somewhere around like 13 or 14, I think the second half of the story kicked in. With the second 12 episodes, we haven't gotten as much action as we've gotten in the first half, but we still have 4 more episodes to go, so maybe the third act is just that much of a more fast-paced, but that's only a possibility. That's the good possibility. The bad possibility is that the show that everyone loves and all that stuff is going to have legitimate reason to hate it because it's falling apart. And I don't know if they've made public any kind of behind the scenes stuff. When something goes bad, see Justice League, see Batman v Superman, it's usually because one side wanted to do something and the other side said no after they said yes. So it says, okay, we're going to green light you to make this thing. Now, halfway through, we're going to kick you off and we're going to change everything. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Everything's going to be different. It says, okay. With anime, there's a longer, or with series in general, series of, like, seasons, if you have one guy directing or one guy, like, heavily influencing, like episodes 1 through 12, and then episodes 13 through 26 are another guy, you could see the tonal change, you could see the whatever, and I don't know what happened, because if this is the original plan, okay, then because that's the other thing too, like that auteur theory that I was just kind of hinting at, like no one ever like thinks that there are bad artists that should not be auteurs. Like for whatever reason, everyone assumes that oh, it was written and directed by. I was like, oh, okay, so it's gonna double suck if it's a bad idea. So I'm willing to bet the remaining 4 episodes are good, because maybe episodes 19 and 20 were that bitter pill that they couldn't figure out how to get it in there, so let's get it out of the way and we're going to get on to the good stuff. But in terms of things happening in episodes 19 and 20 that we kind of didn't want and we weren't expecting and we didn't know about, like there was no build-up, there was no whatever, like in the context of the previous episodes that were slow moving, that probably weren't needed, but they're going towards the story. So I'm gonna keep watching Darling in the Franxx, but I'm just saying out loud, like I was less impressed with the last 2 episodes than I was than the original episodes, and I've been less impressed with the second half of the show as opposed to the first half. But the show's not over yet, so I'm not going to say whether or not like the show's a disappointment. But I recently learned the ending to a particular show called School Days. If you guys want to know what a kick in the nuts bad ending is, watch the last episode of School Days after you've watched the first 10 or 11 episodes of School Days, because that show will f you up. So have a good one, guys.